Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Town of Chatham Historical Commission meeting of February 2nd, 2021. Remote participation only. I'm Frank Messina, Chair of the Commission. I have a few announcements before we start. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chairman. Seeing none, we'll proceed. Mark, there's a little feedback. Maybe it's me or somebody else. I'm not sure. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law 30A-18, and the Governor's March 23, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in any one place, this meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission is being conducted via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder for persons who would like to listen to the meeting while it's in progress may do so by calling the phone number 508-945-4410. Conference ID 472-253-591 hashtag. Or you can join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the proposed agenda. Despite our best efforts, we are not able to provide for real-time access, and we will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. Okay. I will now take the roll. We are having some difficulty with some of our members. And unfortunately, guys, this is probably going to be a way of life for the next 6 to 9 months. I don't know what the town is thinking about changing is getting us back together. All right. Mr. Lear?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Porter? Ben?
Here.
Stephanie?
Here.
Jane? Not here. Don?
Here.
Okay, we have, and the chair is here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 members of the commission. So we do have a quorum. So we're missing at the present time 2 members. And if the alternate, Mr. Burlingame or Erica, are able to sign in, we will assign them. But at the present time, we will hear the hearing, conduct the hearing with the 5 members as present. Okay. We have one public hearing to be conducted today. And that is, as soon as I find it, oops, let's do the minutes first. Sorry about that. Okay, we do have minutes. I apologize. The minutes are from January 19, 2021. It's our last meeting. We were all present except Erica and Steve Burlingame. Any comments or corrections to the minutes?
I
Hearing
move
none.
that we accept the minutes. Steph Hamilton.
Thank you very much, Steph. Do we have a second?
Second, Don.
Don, very good. All right, we'll have to do a roll call. Mr. Lear?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you very much. Okay, now we'll conduct our hearing. As I said, in our agenda, we have one public hearing. It's for an application dated 21-004 to be heard in accordance with Chapter 158. It's to partly demolish a home at 43 Seaview Street. That is always misleading to people, partly demolish. It usually means that there's a change to a home that is more than 75 years of age, and it is therefore coming before the commission. We have an application. This is interesting. We have done this house. We had it before us a few years ago. I remember it. And although there is no Form B for the property, and it was listed a no in the survey for a Form B. The previous commission did, in fact, vote that the house was historically significant. I noticed from that determination, I was not here. I guess Mr. Oliver was the chair at the time. So, who was presenting? Mr. Smith, is that you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Why don't we proceed? I guess the first issue, the first question the commission should consider relative to the historical significance of the property. As the commission less than a few years ago made that determination, do we want to get into or to reviewing that determination? Do any of the members have comments relative to its historic significance? Or do we just want to reaffirm what we did and what the commission did in 2015?
Frank, it's Bob. I don't have a objection to reaffirming it, but I wondered if anybody remembers what the basis was for finding it historically significant at the time.
Don?
It would be Don, I think, or Ben. But
I do not remember why we declared it historic, but I agree that it is an historic building.
Yeah, the original structure, Bob, goes back to 17 something. You know, there's no question there've been a lot of changes to the house. And that's the main portion. Mr. Smith, do you want to pipe in with any information on that or your own feeling?
Yeah, the main structure definitely is historic. I would have,
Yeah.
you know, and they did a beautiful job restoring it
Yeah,
back to its condition. But yes, that main section,
Right.
the additions off the back and to the side, the one to the side that we're going to be attaching to is relatively new. I think that's only a few years old. And
Yeah.
so, but definitely the front section is historic.
yeah, I would, if there's no objection for the members of the commission and no one particularly has an issue, I think we should reaffirm our previous decision from 2015 based upon the basic structure, the architectural significance of the original structure of the house, not the additions.
then I so move.
Okay, Mr.
Steph
Lear,
Hamilton, will second.
thank you, Steph, moving things along. If there's no further comments, we will vote on the issue of historical significance, reaffirming our previous decision in 2015. Mr. Lear,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes,
Don,
Yes,
and the chair votes yes. Somebody has a telephone on or a microphone. If you could please shut it off. Was I the only one hearing that?
No, there's a bunch of feedback somewhere.
Okay,
Mr.
right.
Chair, this is Market Channel 18. I believe it was Tim Smith, who I just muted, who will need to unmute himself if needs to continue presenting.
all right. Tim? Mr.
Yes,
Smith?
I shut my phone off.
Okay, yeah, all right, yeah, that was it. Thank you, Tim.
Yep.
Why don't you give a quick, well, not a quick, why don't you give us a little bit of information relative to what you're proposing? And thank you.
Sounds good. Okay, Tim Smith, Minglewood Homes. I'm representing the neck facilities of 43 Seaview Street. So our plan is to go in and lift the house up, put a new foundation. Right now it has a very different basements. It has one area that you can walk in, one area that you can crawl in, and one area that nobody will go in. So we're going to lift the house up and put a full foundation underneath the whole structure underneath. And that way, you know, a lot of work's been done on the house, I think back in 2015. So a lot of the floor joists have been replaced over time anyways, but we're not going to really do anything. I think we'll be in pretty good shape. We might, in the front section where nobody can get into, I'm not sure what condition that will be in, but we'll make sure that we should be able to repair that, no problem if there's anything in there. We're gonna lift the house up. We're gonna bring it up a foot because in the rear left corner of the house, the old structure is actually sitting in the dirt because of the grade of the driveway. So we're gonna want to lift that up 1 foot from the 24.1 or 24 3/4 to 25 3/4 on the ridge. And then we plan on to access the structure down the basement. We're going to install an exterior staircase covered. It'll be an interior staircase, but we're going to add it onto the exterior to the right-hand side of that front picture that you're looking at now. The red is the addition and the yellow is the existing structure. So in the left, if you're looking at that in the very corner, there's a small little box with a little roof over it, approximately 3 by 3. And I'm not sure what that is. It could have been for some pipes or some plumbing or something like that. But that little piece there, we're going to remove from the building. And then we will incorporate our addition tying into the addition that was put on in 2015, a staircase to access downstairs. So it'll, if we go to the more of the side, one more elevation, we could go one more. I would keep going just a little bit. All right. Well, on this here, you can see how the addition will look. It'll have the door coming through. And if you look at the bottom section, you can see where the door was. So the door is pretty much staying where it is. It's just going to be brought out a little bit farther into the new addition. We're going to add a new window into the new addition. And then the staircase, we carried the staircase around the corner to go down into the old basement of the old section of the house. And we are keeping that underneath that window so we won't bother anything with that window. We won't be taking out the window. You know, the house has been done on the inside, so it's very, you know, delicate project. We don't want to mess with anything on the inside, any walls or anything like that. So we're not really, the only thing we're really removing for structure is the little corner box, some trim to tie in the roof line. We won't be removing any of those rafters that are in there, even though they're, as I say, were put in 2015. That's about what we're going to do there. And then we have conservation. We've gotten some approval from conservation, and we'll go to ZBA after this.
What's the conservation issue, if I may ask?
There's just the little addition nicks into the 100-foot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
All right.
Tim, doesn't the foundation work?
Yeah. Yes. The foundation work is in that 100-foot, but that's more, you know. Yes, the foundation is within the 100 as well. Yes.
It's excavating that close, I think, is the issue.
Yeah.
That's,
yeah.
All right.
Mr. Frank,
Yes.
this is Sandy. I'm finally in. I can't get into online, so you're on my phone. I'm doing it that way.
All right, Sandy. Welcome. When did you join us? Did you join us at the beginning of this?
No, I didn't get to.
right, why don't you-
I kept,
Why don't you, all right, stay on, but why don't you abstain from this application if you don't mind, because you didn't hear the beginning, all right?
okay.
All right, so we have more to do. Okay, thank you, welcome. All right, I do remember the application. I wasn't here for the meeting, the previous one in 2015, and when they added that pass-through from the older part to that other, you know, addition. And Tim, I guess my question is, you're going to raise everything, the main house and all those other structures behind it too?
Everything's going to get a full foundation under it. Yep.
Okay, interesting job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but you know, they've got some water in the basement there, and it's, you know, it's time. It's, you know, it'll as you know, it'll give life to the structure.
Yes.
Getting it up out of the dirt, getting it a foot higher.
Yeah, no question about that. My just concern is that something that, you know, moving it all, it's kind of big, you know, with the additions. So,
Right.
but I'm sure these guys know what they're doing.
Right.
All right. Let's walk through in terms of members. If there are any comments, Mr. Lear,
No problems.
Ben,
No problem.
Stephanie,
No problems, but Steve Burlingame is on now.
Okay, Steve, when did you join us, Steve?
He's muted.
Steve, can you unmute yourself? We can see you, Steve.
Okay,
All right.
before this
Good.
presentation, I joined you.
Oh, so you were on for the whole presentation?
Yes,
Okay, great. So you will then be a voting member for Jane Moffett for this application, okay?
very well.
Thank you very much. Don, did I ask you?
No, but just as an aside, the assessor data sheet said it was built in 1772, so
Yeah,
it's a pretty old house.
absolutely. Yeah. Miss, who's sipping her coffee, are you with the application or what?
I'm the owner.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, welcome aboard. Thank you very much. I don't, all of a
Yeah,
sudden I
Frank,
see it.
this is Cynthia, and she's the owner at 43 Seaview.
Very good.
Mhm.
So why here rather than Florida right now?
Yeah.
No
Well,
comment.
you know what?
Okay.
It was 48 here this morning, believe it or
Yes,
not.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I do remember the house. Okay. And Steve, you have any issues or any problems? If I didn't ask.
So I think it's pretty straight vanilla, and it was a good presentation by Tim.
Okay, good. So if we have no problems, I think a motion of Mr. Lear would be appropriate.
Okay, the Chatham Historical Commission also finds that the proposed work to be done dated January 6, 2021 will not materially diminish the historic significance of the building, and therefore the commission does not impose a demolition delay.
Second, please.
I'll second Steph Hamilton.
Thank you, Steph. Okay, if there's no other comments from the members of the commission or any member of the public who wishes to speak for or against the application. All right, we'll take a vote. Mr. Lear,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Don,
Yes,
Steve.
Yes.
Okay, motion, the chair says yes. Thank you very much. Appreciate your application. Thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Um,
luck.
while I have you, I don't know if I can ask you a question on something
Absolutely.
different, or do you want me to, that meeting's closed?
No, go ahead. This is pretty much on hearings. What's your question?
We had run into a situation over on Main Street that I was gonna want to ask questions about.
What address is that?
That is 158 Main Street.
Frank, this is
Yes,
Michelle.
ma'am.
We don't have that on our agenda, so we really shouldn't discuss it.
Well,
Okay.
let me just ask the question. Go ahead. What's the
Okay,
question?
sorry.
It's all right.
Well, I didn't know how we were leading. So we've opened up, we took some trim off. We found some rotted materials that are rotted within the flat covered roof, as where they're rotted inside past the walls. So they're structurally unsound. So I didn't know if you guys had discussed any of that, if we're coming to you guys for a full blown meeting, or is this something that's,
No, we should, no, we won't discuss it, as Michelle said, it's
Okay.
not on the agenda, but definitely, why don't you, if you work through Michelle and then we can go take a look at it and give you some guidance.
right? I told Michelle, I'll hold the ladder for you when you get up there, okay?
No ladders, no ladders.
Frank? Okay, all right.
And I listen to the Strauss when I ski now, and rather than Bruce Springsteen, so no ladders.
Okay,
All right. So
All right,
they'll do
thank you
that
very much.
independently. Thank you
May
very
I
much,
ask-
Tim.
Frank,
Yes.
may I ask a question? I'm
Yes.
sorry, but I missed it. Bob, you made the motion, the second half of the motion for this application. Steph, were you the second on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Miss Cynthia. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome to stay on the meeting, but if you could just turn your camera off so we don't push any, use any bandwidth. All right, guys, that was good. Okay, we don't have any additional hearings. We have a number of old business items which we should attend to. We'll probably get rid of in the next 15, 20 minutes. Ally, are you with us?
I am, Frank.
Okay.
All right.
This, Ally, Ali Sabatino. The issue here in our old business first item was the proposed zoning bylaw changes to enhance historical preservation. As we know from our last meeting, Ali is working with the town staff and the Cape Cod Commission to try and hone in on the one issue that we have that's holding it up. Ali, why don't you tell us where we are?
Sure. So the last time I was in front of the commission, we were discussing the lot coverage issue. When we had a meeting with the chair of the ZBA and the planning board, we had discussed the lot coverage section, and they were a little uncomfortable with what we had originally proposed, which was 10% additional lot coverage. So we had kind of discussions about how to go about changing that, and it was brought up that we could maybe have an incentive for additional lot coverage based upon how large the original or the structure, which was 75 years or older, was. We felt that that was a little subjective based upon records and things like that, and we'd have to determine exactly how large the structure was that was 75 years or older. And sometimes that's a little hard, basically, depending on additions and things like that. So instead of making it subjective and making the commission's job harder overall, we wanted to simplify it. So internally, we've been working on kind of a range. So it would depend on the size of your lot, which would be how much additional coverage you could have. So that's kind of what we're working on internally at the moment, and I will share it as soon as we have something more concrete. And I just wanted to also let you know we did have a meeting with commission staff, Cape Cod Commission staff, and they're actually going to put together some diagrams for us depicting the incentives. And so when we go out and talk to people, I think it will be a lot easier to explain when we have those pictures and diagrams. So hopefully we'll get that in the next week or two. And I can definitely pass that on to the commission so you guys can review it. But I think it will be really helpful in our pursuit of this bylaw incentive.
Okay. What's your feeling relative to May town meeting? Want to put you on the spot, but you get paid the big bucks, so I figured I could do that. You think we have a chance?
I think that we might have a chance. It really depends on what the feedback is that we receive from the boards and commissions, but I think that we're doing a lot of due diligence now to hopefully help that. But as you know, bylaws take time and there's lots of comments that come in, and we hopefully try to address those. So we can try and be, hopeful and keep going for May town meeting as our goal. I think we'll just have to go through the process and see how it kind of shakes out.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I think, the meeting with the selectmen might be easy, quite honestly, because it's usually a summary, and especially if yourself and, present it, and I'm sure we'd be able to get on the agenda. My concern really is with the ZBA and the HBD and the planning board, because they have full agendas. And so I guess my only comment, certainly we've worked with Catherine, the chair of the planning board, and David Dixon, the chair of the ZBA, but we haven't, and there are some new members on both of those commissions. So that's my concern, as soon as possible so we don't, attack them, if you will, and give them something, and all of a sudden we start all over again. So I leave that to you, but anything I can do, please let me know. All right.
I will, Frank. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
I'm hopeful that when we get the diagram, like I said, it will be a little bit easier to explain when you have a visual. So I think that will help us kind of go forward with it.
Okay. Are you gonna go off the meeting?
If you need me, I can be here. I just have to switch off.
No, I know you do, but just one thing I wanted to talk about. It's at the end of my agenda, but I know you have other work to do. So if the chair doesn't, the commission doesn't mind, I'm going to skip down to the end of the chairman's report, if you will, and come back to it. Very simply, I have on my agenda under chairman report, the last item, Mass Historical Commission website video, and long story short, I know I sent it to the members of the commission again, and I think I did to you, Ally, also. Quite candidly, it's a very good video. It's about an hour long, unfortunately, I think, but it reviews, the whole historical commission process and also what the duties and responsibilities are of the historical commission. And I attended a couple of seminars, but the key thing that I wanted to ask you about, Ally, that I'm creeping up to, is something called a preservation plan. Have you ever worked on generating a preservation plan on any of your experience in the past?
I have not.
It's effectively like a master plan, but for preservation.
Interesting.
And not that you have nothing to do. That's two negatives, I guess. I'm asking the commission, that we think about that on our tasks of something to generate. But I just wondered before you left if you had any background experience in that.
Yeah, no, I just want to be honest. I really don't, but
That's
I'm
okay.
sure we could talk to Sarah Korjeff too, and I could do a little bit more research and digging to see what it entails.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I do appreciate it, Ally. If you have to leave, I understand.
Thank you.
Okay. Back to the agenda. The next item, this is just more or less reports, guys, but please pipe in if you have any questions or comments. The Coast Guard Boathouse. Well, there's a lot happening behind the scenes in terms of the preparations for the selectmen meeting. The Board of Selectmen on February 9th is going to be reviewing their decision relative to accept or not accept the boathouse, to convert it, or adaptive reuse, as we like to say, as the upweller. The current owner, per se, is Dave Doherty, and he went before the CPC last night. And I'd like to say, and maybe Steph can jump in, it wasn't enthusiastically received, but if I was counting the tea leaves, I think we might have enough members who would vote for it, depending upon what the Board of Selectmen does. I think there's a lot of history for CPA money supporting this kind of activity. So really, it all hinges at this time whether the Board of Selectmen, in my view, my tea leaves, if you will, reading, is that if the Board of Selectmen vote yes, we'd like to proceed with this, I think we have a good chance of coming back to CPC. But that's yet to be determined. Yes, Stephanie.
CPC decided not to even vote on it, so it can come back to us.
Right, exactly. And that's the question I asked at the end of the meeting. And Steph, I do appreciate, how do you like being on the CPC?
It's difficult.
Yeah. All right.
I'm the only one that voted against anything.
Yeah. Well, Dale, I appreciate your piping in and kind of representing us. My view also at the CPC, you're the historical commission representative, and we hope you agree with us, but still you're an independent person, unless you didn't know that, but I know you do. All right, great. Preservation awards. Things are happening pretty well, guys. We had our meeting, the Preservation Awards Committee met, and we had representatives from each of the HBDC and the Historical Society. We have really, I would like to say, 5 really good applications that we're going to be reviewing. And for some reason, there it is. In my paper here, I knew I would find it. So again, we had a meeting on the 29th. We had everybody attending. There are 5 applications, and I'm going to repeat them again. There's the 2 from previous year, 54 Summerhill in South Chatham, Ellen Briggs's Windmill on Shore Road, 154 Champlain, Starboard Light, Bob Morse. The new ones that we got this year, which are also very good, is 685 Old Harbor Road and 7 Old Harbor Lane, or maybe it's the other way around. And that was the barn. So I think most of the members of the committee were enthusiastic of the applications as submitted, and we will be taking a formal vote at our next meeting, which Michelle had helped me here. I'm not sure exactly when it is, sometime in February.
February 12th, isn't it? February
Thank you.
12th.
Yes, the 12th. Thank you very much.
February 12th. What time? Have you established a time?
The time would be the normal time, Sandy. Thank you for piping in. When I say the normal time, the time we've usually been meeting, as we did the last time, let me see, that would be 9:30.
Okay.
And Sandy, I thank you very much for stepping up. Sandy, you want to ask anything else, add anything else to what we discussed?
No, I thought it went very well. I do have a question. Is Gayleen a representative of of the Historical Business District?
What was that name?
Gayleen.
is with the Historic Society.
Oh, who's the representative? Who is there?
The
Gayleen Heppy.
The historical, the HBDC representative. Yes. Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Who was that?
The HBDC is Steve Deborah.
Okay, we didn't see him. We just heard him. That's okay. That's right.
Yeah. And Dan Silver was the other one. So anyway, long story short on that is we've got 5 good applications. We will, I believe we're going to go forward and with those 5 and assume everybody's going to concur and we'll have a meeting. And we are going to do an event, and the event will be held in May 16th. We're not going to have an in-person event just because of the COVID. We're going to continue and have that as a Zoom meeting. So we will have a Zoom meeting on May 16th at 3:00, and we'll work out the details. But let me tell you, I heard from all of the applicants they were, obviously, hopefully they would be approved, but they're also looking forward to continuing. I think it's just a very good way to let the public know what we're doing and that everything is not being torn down. There are some positive things happening. All right, there's no other comment on that. I'm sorry, Steve, yes.
I'll save it to the end if I may.
Sure. Okay. Why don't you take your hand down or else I'll just keep asking you.
What I did.
No, he's still up, but that's okay. All right. The last thing on the old business was the process review and the revised application. Michelle, you want to just tell us where we are on that?
Well, I'm still in the process of putting the thoughts to paper. I have a few, based on my interactions with applicants recently, I have a couple of areas on the application that I think we need to tighten up a little bit or explain a little better so folks don't get so upset by the requirements. I'm still working on that. I intend to meet with Katie, if not this week, the very beginning of next week, to make sure she and I are in tune, and then I will forward it along to you for review.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Again, no other comments from anybody? The so-called chairman's report, we have 2 things to look at. You have the status of current demolition delays, and also just a report that we did have 1 application under our new administrative review relative to age and minimal repair, and that was 25 Bayview Road. And we followed the process. I looked at it independent, and so did Mr. Lear independent, and we both concurred that given the age and the minimal change within the application, that it would meet the criteria we have jointly determined in our revised rules and regulations. Sound like a lawyer. Anyway, so that administrative review. What's happening on that as far as the process, a second item on the agenda is that we're
Right, just let me interrupt on that. That should be ratified by the commission, that determination that you just gave, which is part of the process.
Well, I guess it's a question of ratification and notification. So I think we said we were going to notify the commission. It's hard for people. It's hard for people to ratify something.
If I might disagree, I picked ratification because that's what HBDC does. So.
All right. Michelle, I guess we got to change that to put that on the agenda. We can do it now, as far as I'm concerned, because we have it on the agenda.
Right, I agree. I'm just saying
Okay.
I'm being semantic.
Yes, you are.
I sound like a lawyer.
Yeah, you do. I got a couple
Oh, how
lawyers
can that
here.
be?
All right, so I guess I'm looking for a motion, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Yeah, I might add, I had a great deal of trouble figuring out how that building got to be historic when looking at it. So I would move that the commission ratify the chair and the vice chair's recommendation that this be approved through administrative review.
Second,
Second by,
Steve Burlingame.
thank you very much. Any other discussion? Mr. Lear,
Yes,
Sandy,
Yes,
Ben,
Yes,
Steph,
Yes,
Don,
Yes,
and Steve.
Yes.
Chair says yes. What we have to do, Bob, if that's the case, what if the commission doesn't ratify it?
the applicant is notified and the case is listed for, that they need to file an application.
Well, if that's the case, it changes the process that we're using. Because what it does, if the applicant comes before comes before community development and says, well, we really don't think this requires a full review, which I guess happens same with conservation, and the applicant decides to make a administrative review application rather than a full application. Now the clock is starting and we go through the process. There's no notification to the public. We go through the process of you and I as chair and vice chair review and validating a decision that was preliminary made by community development that the change is minor or the age is not 75, or at least it's not discernible. And we provide the documentation to Michelle and she goes ahead and says, okay, it's an administrative review. So the applicant now has to wait for the next historical commission meeting, which could be 2 weeks or 4 weeks. And then if the commission does not ratify the decision, then all right, he has to go back and put an application in. So it could easily take almost 2 months before the applicant is heard. So now we're back in a mode, from my perspective, what does the applicant gain by not making a full application?
They gain being able to save a number of weeks off the process. Skip the advertising gap and the waiting for the hearing gap. And
Michelle, you want to?
So I thought we talked about this, and that was my concern initially, that if you're following along with the thinking of the HBDC, their minor repairs could sometimes be satisfied with an express building permit, which could happen the same day that the administrative approval is attained. So technically the work could begin before you even have a chance to ratify it. The way I understand it through the HBDC process is that it's more of just an acknowledgement, if you will. It is ratified, but it's an acknowledgement. There's not been an issue with the HBDC members going against the determination of the reviewers. They put their faith in the reviewers to do the right thing, to follow the rules and regulations, so there hasn't been an issue. So the ratification is more of just a process, just a paperwork process. The problem with the applicant taking the admin approval to the bank, if you will, is that if the commission, once we put it on the agenda for ratification, if someone on the commission doesn't agree, then we start a whole process all over again, which by as I mentioned earlier, it could put an applicant out 2 months. So the first application that we've had, which is 25 Bayview, I cautioned the applicant that they should be prepared to file. And he was prepared to file. He put in an application complete with all the copies and the check. And then it turned out he didn't need to file, so it didn't need to be advertised. But by, the ratification process, that could slow things down, and they take a chance, so he takes a chance that, the administrative approval came, I want to say around January 22nd, and he was emailed and notified that it had been approved through that process. And now we're at February 2nd. And if someone on the commission disagreed with your determination, your and Bob's determination, then it could start it all over again. He would then have to turn around and file. And right now, the deadline for the March 2nd meeting is Wednesday. So
Well, Michelle, and Frank, it's a majority of the commission, not a member of the commission.
Yeah,
that's true too. I apologize. Yeah, I could have stated that better, but I mean, there's always the opportunity that it could be more than a couple of people. I don't know that I could imagine that happening, but it could, I suppose.
In my experience at conservation, which has the same process, I think it may have happened once or twice in 6 years. So.
Yeah.
Well, let me, it's on the agenda, so we can discuss this. And I guess I need some feedback. We have a couple. I'm not sure who we lost or who we got.
Nope, you didn't. It was me. I'm sorry. It was
okay.
me. A call came in. I don't know why.
All right. So
okay.
we have Steve, Don, Stephanie, Ben, Bob, Sandy, and myself. So the only one we're missing here is Jane and Erica, in terms of discussing this. The reason we started to look at this was we felt that there were applications that came before the commission. And I think we all agree. And we kind of each look at each other and goes, why the heck is this thing even here? I'm not putting words in anybody's mouth. I can't see anybody actually. The only people I see is Ben relaxing and Don, but I assume everybody else is still here. There it is. Not Don, it's Ben. Okay. So what's your feeling on this? You heard the discussion. I'm not trying to. There's no power grab here, guys. It's a pain in the butt, actually. But I'm doing it, and Don and Bob is doing it. This independent review. So what's your feeling? So we could get some guidance on how to proceed. Steve, yes.
I'm comfortable with the process. I think that. At least at this point, we have confidence in the chair and vice chair to make that review. And I don't think they're going to, if it's chancy, I don't think they're going to give it an administrative review check off. I think that they're going to, if it's questionable, they're going to say, sorry, it's too questionable. It's not a slam dunk. As a consequence, we're not going to do it. File
okay, good.
File your application. And I think that it's unlikely. I mean, if it's that close and if that's obvious to two prominent members of the commission or any two members of the commission, that it's not worth a full review, I'm comfortable with it. I think that it would be very unusual for a majority of the commission to overturn something that those two people have determined to be a slam dunk, so to speak.
All right. Well, thank you. And by the way, the way we wrote it, that both people have to independently agree. If one of them disagrees, then it doesn't go forward. Don, I'm sorry, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I agree with what Steve said. I can't imagine that any member, not having seen the property, would say, no, I don't agree with the chair and the vice chair. It would be, I think, a very unusual action. So I support the way it is and just confirm that we know about it for the future.
All right. So, Consigliere, Mr. Lear, are you comfortable? I mean, I don't see anybody else wanting to comment. So we seem, I guess I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth here, but I guess we have a feeling or a consensus among the commission, that we're going to proceed. The only question I would say is with Michelle and Bob, how do we want to do that? Do we want to keep it under new business? I mean, as a new business item that we have to pass a motion to approve it or ratify it. Is that the way you want to do it, guys?
That's fine by me. I think, to again hark back to conservation, I think it's listed under sort of a separate category. It's public hearings and it's applications, and then it's administrative review. I don't know how HVDC does it though.
All right, well then we'll proceed in that fashion. Okay.
Frank, can I just make two other points, minor points? As Steve noted, this could be any two commissioners because it's whoever's sort of around and available, not necessarily the chair and the vice chair. And I, at least, I'm wary of the fact that we're doing this process without notification to the public. So I'm not inclined to do anything that a neighbor might say, what were you doing when you approved that? Because that's going to really create a problem with the whole process.
Well, I don't know. First of all, we've officially changed our rules and regulations. So it is now the process that community development and the commission does follow, that there will be an administrative review under certain conditions. And so it's going to be public information. And we are going to notify the public that we're ratifying it. And so other than that, are you saying we have to go further with the public?
No. I'm just, as Mr. Burlingame may agree, that the lawyers are looking for a potential worst case scenario there, and we just need to be careful that we don't go too far and enrage some neighbor who then comes in and objects. The whole process is called in question.
Well, I guess I can, but it's kind of like we're doing it, and I think we've covered our bases, and the rules and regulations
I agree.
Are being changed, and that's the way we're doing it. The public or the neighbor may not like it. Trust me, they don't like sometimes the regular ones we do.
That's what I was going to say. Won't they come in anyway?
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, I think we know what we're going to do here, and Michelle and I will work on it, and we will have it as an item under new business when there is a ratification or confirmation necessary for an administrative review decision. Okay. Anybody else want to discuss that? Any member of the public? All right. Carolyn Lane, are you a guest? Are you listening in, ma'am, sir? Okay. All right. Let's proceed. I'll try to go quickly. Current status.
Yes, I'm listening in. Caroline Lane.
All right. I'm sorry, ma'am. I didn't know. It's no problem. I'm not trying to discourage you. I just looked up and I saw another name. Thank you very much. Welcome. It's not very often we get members of the public. So, all right. Status of our demolition delays. Everybody has a copy of it. I guess there's nothing new to report. We're still waiting on bated breath on 233 Seaview Street to decide what they're going to do. 26 Cockle Cove, I see that's probably about to be demolished. Looks like they're marking the location of the gas and water lines. So we're going to lose that in South Chatham. And I don't know if there's anything else. Anybody have any questions or comment? Okay. Next item, 68 Shell Drive. It's plowing on. They went before conservation. Conservation is going to be hiring a consultant to validate the Woods Hole experts relative to bringing in fill to raise a certain portion of the driveway. As a result, the meetings to ZBA have been pushed out until after conservation. So sometime, I would say probably in March, it'll hopefully get to conservation. I mean, to the ZBA. And I've had conversations with the owner, Mr. Joe Chickleone. He still hopes to save the house, and we hope that he can get permission to save the house. So, the fat lady hasn't sung on that one, so we don't know what's going to happen. Next item, if there's no other comments, Monomoy Theater. They had one meeting with the HBDC, and I think they're coming back again to the HBDC on tomorrow, the 3rd, if tomorrow is the 3rd, to get formal permission to demolish those 5 ancillary buildings as well as the 2 houses on the property. My personal feeling is that, unfortunately, we're going to end up with what Chatham doesn't need is 5 or 6 single-family homes rather than some kind of housing. So that's where we are. But, hope springs eternal that the theater will come back in some form, because the owner is not planning or doesn't have any plans to demolish the Washington Taylor House nor the theater. So we'll see. Anybody have any comments on that? Nope. I did comment earlier about the Mass Historical Commission video. If you could take a look at it, I think you'll like it. And one comment, my last item here, I do wish that we, in some future date, I'd like to add it to our items for future items, is the concept of generating a preservation plan. This historical commission has been very good, very proactive over the years. Our Form Bs are pretty well in good shape. We do a preservation award. We're proactive in creating new historic districts when we seem it necessary or we have an opportunity to do that. But we don't really have a plan. There's nothing written down relative to, what we want to do or how we want to do it. So I'm going to get you more information on that. And last but not least, I hope to put Mr. Burlingame to work shortly on the Form Es for the cemetery, if it's a task you're still interested in.
I am.
Okay. I've got to provide a little bit of incentive to the town, Ms. Donovan and the powers to be, that we need to move out on some of these things. They can't wait forever, notwithstanding the COVID, because it looks like we're going to be doing this Zooming for a long time. So, but I would like to get going with that. I think we can independently you can work on the Form Es. And I also would like to get the funding identified to update our archaeological study with the Nickerson family dig and the Atwood dig. So if there's no other comments or suggestions or.
I have a comment.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Steve. I'm sorry.
I have 2. First of all, I want to indicate my admiration of the headset of the chairman. You look like a big-time sports announcer or disc jockey or something. And secondly, this is a personal thing, but I really want to say how disappointed I was in the selectmen's meeting when they were discussing the boathouse.
Amen.
Instead of having an attitude, if one person had an attitude, let's see what we can do, I'd feel much better. But no one went even that far. There was no expression of any positive interest. It was always negatives that could possibly be. We'd rather talk about issues that we've been talking about for 5 years and haven't done anything about. I just didn't think it was a very positive approach, considering the historic importance of this building. It wasn't like we're trying to save Cream and Cone. We're talking about a substantial piece of Chatham, and to have absolutely no interest, as they've shown, was a big disappointment to me.
May I add to that, Steph Hamilton?
Yes, go ahead, Steph.
One select person even said, it's just an old place, which I couldn't believe.
Yeah. Well, I would say 2 things, Steve. One, I know independently, and you can do it too. Any one of us, you don't have, I went forward as the chairman representing the views, but certainly we're all individual people and individual voters. And, send them an email or give them a call and let them know how you feel about it. Because, in fact, quite honestly, I was extremely disappointed with the Community Preservation Committee, not Stephanie, she's our gal, there were comments like, oh, there's no community support for this thing. I don't know anybody who supports it. It's like, I mean, we're not saying it's a slam dunk, but at least acknowledge that it's something we might want to accomplish. Something, let's look at it. It's worthwhile. It's interesting. I got an email from somebody. He says, "Can you tell me why we lost the boat, to Orleans,
Yeah.
and why,
How do we explain
and
that, Frank?
why did we lose the Provincetown, and why did they not buy the boathouse for $1, And I said, well, you got a few hours, we'll talk about it. Last but not least, Mr. Burlingame, there are two positions open on the Board of Selectmen. Election is in May, and with that beard, you'd make a fine candidate.
No, thank you. But,
All right. I think we dragged it out. I didn't want to have a meeting end in under an hour. So we're there, I think, guys, unless somebody wants to say something.
Make that an inspiration, Frank. Come on, you can do better.
No, okay. All right.
Especially with those that new headset.
Well, it was very difficult hearing people, and it reminds me when about 5 years ago, when I went to my doctor and he gave me a hearing test, and he says, I think you should have a hearing aid. It'll probably be good for you. And I said, well, typical engineer, well, I'm only down this dB in that frequency, and I'm only down here in this frequency, and this is the listening frequency. Well, when do you know? When do you have to get a hearing aid? And he sat back like the doctor does, like Ben is doing, and he put his hands like that. And he says, when people stop talking to you because you keep saying what?
Well, that's right.
All right. We need a motion, Mr. Lear.
I move we adjourn.
I will second. Steph Henderson.
All right. Thank you. No discussion, Mr. Lear.
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Steph?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
And Steve?
Yes.
And the chair says yes. Thank you very much, guys. Be
Good
safe.
job, Frank. You're still under an hour.
By the way, before you leave, I'm going in for surgery next